I'll start off by mentioning two important things. First, this video is not one of my joke videos, and second, this is in no way bashing All Might or the story, but instead will be more of a philosophical take, and I wish that the author will follow up with what I hope, which would solidify to me that My Hero has one of the best stories in all of shonen, still being overlooked by the people obsessed with shipping over actual plot, but that's another tale. The core of this video can be summed up with an old Chinese story I heard a long time ago that I'll paraphrase here. There once was a traveling merchant who carried with him a lot of goods. Every once in a while, because he has so many things to keep an eye on, some of his goods are stolen. So the merchant decided to prevent this by tying all of his goods into a single tight-knit group where nothing can be plucked out. This was working until one day a large thief came by, threw the merchant to the side, and just picked up all the goods and walked away with them. All Might strove to be, and ultimately became, the symbol of peace for all of Japan. Thanks to his presence, crime dwindled and people lived in peace. On the surface, this is a great thing. Who is going to be opposed to crime dropping and society living in peace? The intentions are pure, and the results have been speaking for themselves. Unfortunately, this seeming peace comes with many drawbacks. One that we have begun to see sprouting up all across society.
Hey, thanks for catching those crooks. We couldn't have done it without you. Oh, man, this is good. While you're at it, would you mind booking them too?
When building a home, or really anything that has a support structure, even if you have a main pillar, you don't put all of your budget into that single pillar and leave the rest of the structure to be built with Lego bricks. A running theme in My Hero Academia is people ignoring the underlying damage their good intentions actually produce. This isn't as prevalent in the anime yet, but man am I looking forward to Season 5 and the rest of the manga being animated for this purpose. What happens when people think they don't have to worry about something? Well, they don't worry about it. All Might will take care of it. Of the UA students, only a handful really have any goals of hitting the strength of All Might. Of the current heroes, the ones who grew up with All Might, aside from Endeavor, nearly everyone else has gotten lazy and compliant. What I enjoy about Horikoshi's writings is the way he's able to take something so in-your-face obvious and somehow make it subtle until someone else points it out. Watching the show, I never even questioned the hero's attempts at stardom, their promotion of products, or any of the non-hero things until Stain came along and pointed out the absurdity of all of it. Heroes are meant to save people's lives, but if one man is doing all the saving, what is everyone else doing? They simply partake in menial tasks. They've lost the soul of a hero. And it's because one man decided, don't you worry, I will be that soul for everyone. And we as the viewers get caught up in it too. When Stain began to bitch out Ida for the way he was acting, and pointed to the hero who still needed help, I grinned ear to ear at just how massively I just got slapped in the face. I was so engrossed in the revenge plot that I completely forgot there was someone who needed saving. I realized that even with myself, I associated all the saving of people with All Might, and everyone else was just there for cool action scenes. We see this issue play out in real life all the time. What happens when you keep feeding the animals in the wild? They become weak and compliant. What about children with rich parents who give them literally everything they ask for and make any problems for the child go away with a flash of a credit card or a passive-aggressive threats of the parents' influence? They become the most insufferable little shits. If one person does most of the work for the group project, what happens if that someone gets sick or drops out altogether? And what happened when the symbol of peace became no more? Crime skyrocketed, heroes suddenly had to work again, and many couldn't hold their weight. And this was almost inevitable, as All Might became a target. What if, instead of a single pillar, you had multiple not as strong pillars working together to hold the society up? How would you be able to, as a villain, take those pillars down to make it all collapse? It's much easier if you just have to take out one target. Granted, it's one hell of a target, but nothing lasts forever. All Might never gave any thought to the consequences of his actions, which is essentially the entire reason for Shigaraki's existence. He might not seem like that much of a threat at the end of Season 4, but just you wait. And what of the citizens? I can't help but draw parallels to another show, Psycho-Pass. Go to this point in the video if you want to avoid spoilers. With a basic rundown of that show, the government has machines and software that practically measure your thoughts. So if you get agitated, your Psycho-Pass goes up, and if it gets too high, they just arrest you before you even have the opportunity to do anything illegal. So when someone is able to circumvent this system and give some people a way to bypass the Psycho-Pass, What do you think happens when someone starts beating a civilian to death with a hammer? People stand around not knowing what to do. But the government takes care of this. They'll save us, that's what they do. In one of the more bloody examples of this, the police in the society have a gun that only shoots if the target's crime coefficient score is above a certain threshold. The antagonist, for whatever reason, cannot get his score to ever go up beyond that point. So even when he is about to kill people, the psychopath system regards him as an upstanding citizen. He puts the main character in a terrible position, saying that either she makes the choice to shoot him under her own free will and not the government's, or he is going to kill her friend. Despite this being a relatively black and white issue, she has let someone else dictate morality to her to such an extent that she can barely function without that something, and her friend pays the price. So what happens after All Might retires and a big bad shows up and starts wrecking things? Utter panic and pandemonium. The only two people who are now able to take care of this threat is the only hero who didn't fall for everyone's bullcrap letting All Might take care of everything, and the hero who saw what he was doing and admired him for it. Without All Might, what do we do? Without All Might, what do we do? Maybe everyone should have thought of that before passing everything onto one man. This has been a problem for humanity since the dawn of civilization. People putting everything onto a single person and becoming lazy because of it. Complacency breeds weakness. It always has. And unfortunately, people have still not grasped the fundamental idea of smoothing out those negatives that come from a better life. We no longer have to hunt mammoths with a pointy stick, but as a consequence, it's pretty easy for us to get fat. Even out that negative with going to the gym or practicing restraint. GPS has made navigation easier than ever. Just because we no longer need to look at a map of stars doesn't mean we shouldn't still learn landmarks and use them to figure out which way is north. I used to drive for Uber and Lyft, and let me tell you, sometimes learning those landmarks and street names was of huge importance, either when the GPS began to malfunction, or I just naturally learned faster routes that the GPS doesn't know about. So what I am really hoping for is that Horikoshi hits upon this idea. Let Deku become the greatest hero, like he said he would in the beginning, but don't make him the next symbol of peace. Make him realize that his predecessor made a mistake, and that everyone should strive to become that symbol of peace. So one way I envision an ending with this in mind is when the final big bad showdown appears, it'll take all Deku has just to stop him, but there are other villains and or Nomu running around so that even if Deku succeeds in taking down the final boss, the destruction left over will be so massive that it won't even matter. Luckily, Deku is not alone, and everyone who has made it to the end tell him he no longer has to be the pillar of society. They will all take up the mantle of the symbol of peace and end this once and for all. Or something along those lines. Make it so that All for One is clearly still needed as the central pillar to this building, but the supporting pillars are plenty strong in their own right and will hold everything up until the greatest hero can help secure the victory. What a fantastic twist I think that would be. All this time, we as the audience are cheating on the symbol of peace, wanting Deku to take up the mantle, but all we are unknowingly doing was setting everything up to fail. It's unlikely it'll go that deep, but I can only hope. All Might's heart is pure, and I sympathize with his intentions more than I can say in this video. But I think the Hero Society will come to realize that you can't put everything on one man's shoulders, and we must all carry some level of the burdens. So what do you think of this idea, both in terms of the My Hero storyline, and as a general philosophical concept? If you like my work and want to see more, check out my anime-themed tea store, The Dragon's Treasure, which includes 2 My Hero-inspired teas, the Best Girl Hero Froppy, and Urava tea. Heh, get it? I think these teas perfectly capture the flavor of these underrated... FBI, open up!